As demonstrated in the last video, we were able to use the default feeds that comes with Drupal. That is, if you want to add a new user to your Drupal website, you simply use the username field, the email address field, the password field, and that's all. What if you are required, maybe your client asks you to add a field called home address, telephone number, gender, and all other fields that are similar to that? How do you go about that? It's very easy. You don't need to write a code to get that done. All you need to do is visit the configuration page and click on account settings. When you get to account settings, you can see manage feeds. This manage feeds is related to users accounts. So if you click on manage feeds, then you can see, because by default we have username and password, basically you can simply ignore time zone. We can discuss this in the forum. Then this is where you add as many as possible feeds. It is unlimited. You can add as many as you want. So first, for the purpose of this training, we are going to add a new feed which we would call let's call the feed home address. That is, whenever a new user registers on your website, you want to collect the home address of that user. So we have home address. Then we've discussed the different types of feeds that we have. So for the purpose of home address, it's best to use the long text, and we save. If you click on save, we have the usual settings that you are familiar with. So the next thing is this feed compulsory. Must a user add the home address before they can register on your website? If it is a must, then you simply check required. However, if it is not a must, but you want it to show on the user registration form, that is when a user is registering, you want them to see this feed, but it is not compulsory, then you should check this. But if you don't want them to see it while registering on your site, you can uncheck this. But for our own purpose, we're going to enable this, and I think every other thing are okay by default. So let's save that. Now I've saved that. Let me add one more feed which I will call age. It is, I want to know the age of the user that is registering on my website. So then the age feed usually takes integer, because if you ask someone their age, they will not write a text. You are expecting user to write integer like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 25, 30, 50, 100. So that is why we have to choose the feed type of integer, and we save that. If you want users to type in their age or words, then you wouldn't want to choose integer, you would choose text feed. Now let's save this feed, and this is required. We really want them to put this before they can register on their site. So supposing you want to restrict your registration to a particular age range, and then if someone is 10 years old, you don't want them to register on your site, then we can just type in a minimum of 10 here. That means if anybody types in 8, this feed will reject it and tell that you can't add age that is lesser than 10. Then you can also add maximum if you want that. Prefix and suffix. Prefix is usually added like before the number. The suffix is added after the number. So the default value, if you want to have a default value, so that if a user doesn't add any value, that default value will be used. But for our own case, we don't want a default value, so let's save the setting. And I think with these two feeds we are good to go. Now let's try to add a new user, and we want to ensure that these two feeds are available whenever a user is registering. Let's go back to people Then add user. Now we have the username as usual, we have the email address, the password. These are the normal fields that comes with Drupal. Now these are your own fields, the home address, then the age, which is compulsory. That is why you have a red star here to show that it is compulsory. The home address is not compulsory, then you don't have the star here. So that is how to add new feeds to your user account, so that if you want users to add different information about them to their registration form, then you can easily do that. And then to change the display, this is a challenge for you. How do you change the display? For example, on this form we have age below home address. You are required to move the age above home address and do some other interesting things you would like to do. See you in the next video.